Welcome to Thrive by the Rising Muse. I'm Vita.
I'm Natty.
And we are here to thrive. If you're listening right now, whether you're driving, sitting at home, or moving through your day, we want to begin by setting the tone for our time together. This is not a rushed conversation. This is not a performance conversation. This is not a do more, try harder conversation.
Nothing in this episode requires you to fix yourself while you're listening. Nothing here demands urgency. Nothing here assumes you are behind. We want to say that clearly at the start because many of us are used to content that immediately places you in a deficit.
And if you notice yourself bracing, tightening, or preparing to take notes, you're allowed to soften. This episode is meant to meet you where your body is, not where expectations are.
We are talking today about trauma and productivity, not as two separate topics, but as one shared experience. Because how you work, how you rest, how you relate to time, how you feel about your own capacity, all of that lives in your nervous system.
And for many people, productivity has never felt neutral. It has felt heavy, charged, moralized, personal. Not because you're responsible, but because productivity became tied to safety, worth, or survival.
I remember telling you that, especially when I was around college years, I used to tell myself, productivity is what I'm good for. I'm not good for anything else. I identified my worth with my grades, my capacity to work, my capacity to do things. So I understand this. And some of us have spent years believing you have a time management problem. In my case, it's because I want to do more. You've tried new planners, new systems, new schedules, new disciplines. You've read books, you've watched videos, you've listened to podcasts, and maybe for a week or two, something works. Then it stops.
And eventually, the question shifts. It stops being, what system should I use? And becomes, why can't I get it together?
I have a short answer for that.
Okay.
Life. Seriously, one of the things I've learned, especially in recent times, is that I'm one to put systems in place for everything. But then I have to accommodate for life because not 2 days are the same. And I can have the strictest schedule for everything. It's not going to happen. As soon as my eyes open, it's out the door. So, because I don't know, for example, this week, I had some plans for the week. I had a party that I was hosting. I got sick, so I had to cancel that.
That's true.
Right? I had, all these plans about I was going to do some things in my little school because I got sick. That got out of the way. Now, for this next week, I have to plan on covering that material and this material without overwhelming the kids or extending school or whatever. Well, I needed to make some changes. I had a whole idea of how these weeks were going to go. Like I said, as soon as I opened my eyes, it went out the door. So the question is heavy, and it usually carries shame with it. Or used to. For me now, I've learned not to. It's like, it is what it is. So we want to answer it early. There is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you.
Thank you. There's also nothing broken in you. Your body learned how to survive. And survival strategies do not disappear just because your circumstances.
That sentence alone may need to land for a moment. Your body learned how to survive, not how to rest. Mine's still struggling with that. Not how to pace, not how to prioritize joy. It learned how to get through.
Yes. Trauma is not only what happened to you, It's what your body learned from what happened to you. And productivity patterns are often a direct reflection of those lessons.
And this is why productivity advice that ignores trauma feels harsh, shallow, or ineffective. It assumes a regulated nervous system, which is less common than people think. It assumes safety. It assumes internal calm. Many of you never had that baseline. Many of us haven't had that baseline.
So instead of asking, why can't I do more? We want to ask a different question. What has my body been protecting me from?
So, this episode is not about labeling yourself as traumatized. It is about understanding how your system learned to cope. Because once you understand the pattern, shame loses its grip.
Yes. And when shame loosens, choice becomes possible.
We also want to say this clearly for anyone listening with a spiritual background. You did not fail God because you're tired. You did not disappoint God because you struggle with consistency. You are not less faithful because rest feels hard.
Spiritual language has often been used intentionally or not to pressure people into overriding their limit.
That's so many times.
So this episode will not do that.
Instead, we're going to slow down and talk about the nervous system, bearing in mind God created our nervous system.
Yes, he did.
Not clinically, not coldly, but practically. That's how we're going to talk about the nervous system.
Because whether you realize it or not, your nervous system is already running your product.
The question is whether you understand how.
Let's ground something before we go any further. Productivity is not a moral trait. It is not evidence of goodness. It is not proof of worth. It is not a spiritual ranking system either.
And guess what? And I've had to learn this the hard way. Busyness is not holiness. The fact that you have a full agenda doesn't mean you're holier than anybody else. Exhaustion is not obedience, and rest is not laziness.
Right. Many of us learn explicitly or subtly that being busy kept us safe.
The whole idle hands are the devil's workshop.
So, safe from criticism, safe from rejection, safe from being seen as disposable.
So productivity became more than a habit. It became a shield.
And shields are hard to put down, even when the danger has passed.
Yeah. Throughout this episode, you may recognize yourself in ways that feel uncomfortable. That doesn't mean you're behind or being exposed. It means you're being understood.
If at any point you feel overwhelmed, you are allowed to pause this episode. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to come back later. This is not a test.
Things that trauma takes from us is agency. We want to give that back to you.
So here is the frame for the rest of this conversation. We're going to talk about why productivity feels hard, why rest feels unsafe, how trauma shapes focus, energy, and motivation, and what healing productivity actually looks like.
Not productivity that squeezes you, but productivity that works with your nervous system instead of against it. Your patterns make sense in the contents of your history. And understanding that is not weakness, it's actually wisdom. So let's talk about why the nervous system and the productivity advice sometimes fails.
Because once you understand the nervous system, so much of the shame around productivity begins to fall away.
See, most productivity advice is built on one assumption that rarely gets named. It assumes that your nervous system is calm enough for you to choose.
But trauma changes that. Trauma teaches the body to prioritize protection over performance. And when protection is the priority, productivity becomes secondary.
Yep. This is why someone can want to do something, deeply want to, and still feel unable to start.
Mhm.
It's not a motivation problem. It is not a character problem. It's a safety problem.
Yes, the nervous system has one primary job: to keep you alive, not to make you efficient, not to make you impressive, not to make you consistent, to keep you alive.
This is one of those things like when we talk about people having anxiety of speaking in public or having a relationship. If you've had trauma in certain areas, your nervous system is telling you, don't go there. That's not safe. So you're not doing what you have to do or what you want to do because your nervous system is telling you, and is sending you signals not to go there.
Mhm.
And it does that by constantly scanning for threat. Threats doesn't always look like danger. It's not like a building on fire.
Right.
Sometimes it looks like pressure. Sometimes it looks like an expectation. Sometimes it looks like urgency.
This is where so many people get confused. They think trauma only counts if something extreme happened. But the nervous system does not measure trauma by intensity alone. It measures it by being overwhelmed.
See, anything that exceeds your capacity to cope, especially repeatedly, can train your system to stay. And once your system learns vigilance, it doesn't easily unlearn it.
This is why time pressure feels different to different people.
Mhm.
For one person, a deadline feels motivating. For another, the same deadline feels paralyzing.
Because the nervous system is not responding to the task, it's responding to what the task represents.
For some people, task represents safety, approval, belonging, avoidance of punishment. For others, task represents exposure, failure, criticism, loss of control.
And here's the thing, your body responds accordingly, often without asking your permission.
Mhm.
Often. I don't think it's ever asked for my
Mhm.
permission. This is
Mhm.
why telling someone to just manage their time better can feel cruel because it ignores what their body is carrying.
Let's talk about survival responses, not as theory, but as lived experience. There are four primary trauma responses: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Most people have access to more than one, but usually one becomes dominant,
Mhm.
and that dominant one response often shapes how you relate to productivity.
See, we're going to take our time here because if you recognize yourself, that recognition is not a diagnosis. That's not what we're trying to do. It's
Mm-hmm.
just information.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So let's talk about flight as the productivity as an escape. Mhm.
Flight is the response most celebrated in our culture. It looks like busyness, overworking, constant motion.
Flight says if I keep moving, nothing can catch me. So you stay occupied, you
Mm-hmm.
stay scheduled, you stay productive, not because you love working, but because slowing down feels unsafe. Here's the thing, one of the things that when somebody has trauma or some feelings that they don't want to deal with, sometimes that's their response. They overwork because they know that sitting still means having to deal with all those issues because they're coming to their
Mm-hmm.
head. So they go like, oh, no, being quiet doesn't work for me. So let's keep it
Mm-hmm.
moving.
For people in flight, rest often feels uncomfortable, even threatening. Silence brings thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stillness brings emotions. Unstructured time brings awareness.
Yeah, because when you're still, your brain is gonna your brain's been waiting to bring some things to your attention. And once you're still, it will. Now, what people miss in this one is that it's good to process things, but sometimes if that doesn't feel safe, you don't want to deal with that.
Right.
So let's keep myself busy, 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 busy. And at the end of the day, I just pass out. I don't give a chance to my brain to react to absolutely anything.
Mm-hmm.
So productivity becomes a way to outrun yourself. And because society rewards busyness, this response often goes unnoticed until burnout gets here. Then there's the freeze productivity shutdown.
Freeze is the response people judge most harshly. It looks like procrastination, avoidance, inaction.
But freeze is not laziness. Freeze happens when the nervous system perceives that action will not lead to safety. So it shuts everything down.
This is why someone can care deeply and still feel stuck. The system says, if I move, I might fail. If I fail, I might be rejected.
Mhm.
If I'm rejected, I'm not safe.
So this is the part where people who have fear of failure go into freeze mode. So the body chooses stillness, not rest, but immobilization.
Immobilization.
Okay. And shame usually follows.
Yeah.
Especially because people around you are like, you ain't doing nothing. And they think that you ain't doing nothing because you're lazy. You don't want to do anything. But they don't understand what's happening inside. Let's talk about fawn productivity as a relationship management.
Fawn is the response many helpers live in. It looks like people pleasing, overgiving, saying yes when you want to say no.
Productivity in this case is relational. You do things to be liked. You do things to be needed. You avoid conflict. I heard myself say this. You know what? It's just easy to give in, to do what they want, to get it out of the way. And that's what fawning does. And it works in all kinds of relationship. It works, in your regular workplace. Your boss, you know what? It's easier just to do this extra report than explain to him that it's already 5 and I'm supposed to be going. In even sometimes unhealthy relationships, but you know what? He wants to do this. I don't want to. Let's keep the peace. Here it is. In with the children sometimes, and they're fussy. I don't want to deal with it. I don't feel like parenting right now. Here, get what you want.
That's what doors and the volume on the TV is for.
That's when you're grandparenting.
Yeah.
Parenting doesn't give you those options.
I'm a grandparent face, and
right.
I love it.
Yeah. Parenting doesn't give you those options.
No. Your worth becomes tied to your usefulness. And your calendar fills with other people's priorities.
You have talked a lot about that from when you were a church secretary, where where you were trying to listen to service and people would come in, hey, we need this.
Oh yes. Okay, I gotta say this.
Okay.
All right. I'm in worship service. I'm connecting with God, feeling Him, worshiping, hands up, eyes closed, just thanking God for who He is. And someone comes and tap me on the shoulder. And I'm like this. I need to get something out of your office. Really? I mean, really? Really? Right now? Right. Sorry, it's an emergency. You know what time church starts. If you don't get it before church starts, you need to wait till church is over.
But here's the question. Did you get up and go get it?
In the beginning, yes.
That's where you were fawning before you learned the boundaries.
Yes.
Right.
But when I learned my boundaries, praise the
That set you free.
Because I'm in the middle of worshiping and they tap me on the shoulder and say, I need somebody in your office. And I turn around and keep worshiping. Bless your name, Lord. Thank you for keeping me from swinging on them.
And here's the thing, when you're fawning, eventually exhaustion sets in, but stops feeling dangerous because connections once depended on compliance.
Yeah.
So you kind of get used to that. Fight. Productivity as control.
Fight shows up as control. Perfectionism. Rigidity. Harsh self-talk.
For people in fight, productivity is about dominance over chaos. And one of the things I've learned in life and through my studies is people who are trying to control everything is because they feel themselves out of control internally. Schedules are strict. Mistakes feel intolerable. Rest feels irresponsible. I have to say, I was in fight mode for a long time because I remember, like I said, I have learned, I have changed so much. The Lord has done a work in me. He's still working, but He has, because my schedules, baby, my schedule. I remember when Mason was little, I actually typed up a schedule for him when he was a baby. They said you have to put a baby on schedule.
Who is they? Because I need to punch.
Well, so-called experts.
That Dr. Spock thing again?
I never read that one.
Me neither.
Okay, but yeah, they say you're supposed to put babies on schedule, and I learned that babies have their own schedule and they do their own thing.
I learned that babies put you on the schedule.
I have learned that He puts my whole life on a schedule now, but at the beginning you think you're in control of something.
And her feelings got hurt because she didn't like me laughing at her.
Yeah, because let's not have that conversation.
New mom syndrome.
Yeah, she did laugh at me.
I did.
You're mocking me. Yeah, and I was trying my best.
I went through 2 children and 5 grandsons. I laughed at her every day.
Yes, you did.
I did. I did. And you was like,
you were not validating my feelings.
You hurt my feelings because you laughed at me. You know why I'm laughing at you? Because that's unrealistic.
Hey,
but you'll learn.
Yeah, yeah, we got there.
We did get there.
But even before the child, I remember. I mean, again, why things change? Because life. That's the short version. But I remember when I had my heavy control issues, and I had my agenda in my head of what this day was going to look like, and something changed. Oh my God, I felt like the world had just exploded.
Yes, she did.
And this was way before you met me. It was worse. And I just felt like, oh my God, now how am I going to do the rest? Girl, just move this part and go to the next thing, or forget it. Start tomorrow again.
I'm so glad I know you.
A lot of people are. But yeah, I mean, hey, like I said, I am a product of God, and I'm glad He has worked in me and He's still doing it. Because yeah, I mean, schedules for me were sacred. And I am still a little, I mean, I'm responsible. And I try to be early for things, which reminds me, I don't know what happened. Your daughter and I were going somewhere, and somebody was trying to do something. She was not being able to get ready, and I heard her screaming, she's gonna be here in 30 minutes. Get out of the way.
It's like, how she is.
Right. And actually by then I was way more relaxed, bless her heart. But yeah, it's one of those things, I like to be early. I like to do things on time. It stresses me out not to, but it does. But
you feel now.
Here's the thing. I still like to do things on time. I have to meet deadlines. That's the responsible adult thing to do. But if something happens, it happened. It's life. And it does not break my mental health. It does not send me into a tease.
I'm so proud of you.
But yeah. Yeah.
Control once kept you safe. And go feels like vulnerability.
Yes, it did.
And vulnerability was not always safe.
So here's the thing, we start normalizing those patterns because here's what matters. None of those responses mean something is wrong with you. They mean your system adapted to those systems.
Adaptation that once save you do not disappear just because you want them to.
No, it is work.
And they require understanding.
This is why productivity tools fail when they ignore trauma. They try to overlay structure on a system that is still protecting itself.
And protection always wins over planning.
Because you can ground your nervous system, but you have to override it. It's a process. So why try harder makes it worse?
When someone in a trauma response tries to push through, the nervous system hears danger and it escalates.
That's when your mental health goes awry. This is why forcing productivity often leads to cycles of overworking, collapse, shame, recommitment, repeat. You make things wrong and you have to do them all over again.
The issue is not effort. The issue is safety. As we move into this next part of the conversation, we want to name something very important. How many people struggle with productivity and are not just psychological?
Yeah, because a lot of people's productivity is not just psychological,
Right.
They are spiritual.
Yeah.
And for some of us, rest itself feels unsafe. Not because you dislike rest, no at all, but because of what rest has meant in your life. Rest has not always been neutral.
You know, Jesus created everything in 6 days.
God did.
God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. God created everything in 6 days. What did he do on the seventh day? He didn't go into overtime. He rested.
And here's what I've learned. He didn't do that because he was tired. God can't get tired. He did it to teach us how to live and to let us know that we needed rest.
Yes.
But for some people, rest was when harm happened. I know about that. When supervision dropped, when protection disappeared, when vulnerability was exposed. So your nervous system learned a very clear lesson. Stillness is not safe. So think about this. As a child, I can give you two examples, and they're, yeah. Well, one, I've said it before. I had a caretaker who used to hit me in the middle of my sleep. So how can you feel safe in rest when you don't know if somebody's going to wake you up beating you up? And I do know, and we've talked about this example. I think you said about, I don't know if it was your brother or something, that he was supposed to do some dishes and he will be woken up in the middle of the night.
Awaken.
Right. So those type of things sound like discipline, but those type of things,
that's trauma.
Exactly. And that makes you not trust rest. You have another situation. You have households with, even if it's not domestic violence, parents are fighting in the middle of the night. The child is awakened by that. Now the house doesn't feel safe because the parents are having an argument. And if it's domestic violence, it's even worse. I remember, and that didn't kind of affected me. I don't think it did. When I was living with my uncle and my aunt, they had a domestic violence relationship. And one night, several nights, we had to leave the house in our pajamas and our sleeping, house sandals.
Shoes.
Yes, the house shoes. Running out of the house to the other street because her son lived at the next block, and we were running in the middle of the street to go over there for safety because they were having a fight. So, I've never thought that affected me somehow. I already had sleeping issues, so that was just not a drop in the bucket. But somebody who has to do that, you don't think that sleeping is safe because you don't know when you have to run. You have to make sure that you have clothes on, because if you sleep with little clothes and something happens, you can't be running around the street in your Eve or Adam suit.
Baby, why are you going to sleep in your full parka
Because
and your snow boots?
it's cold outside and we have to run today.
I just want to be prepared. And then if you're not being awakened because you didn't do the chores you were supposed to do, that trauma is already has an imprint.
It does.
In you. Even if someone comes and touches you gently,
you jump to the ceiling.
Like, I didn't know, did I forget to do something? No. And you'd be surprised how that imprint is there very quickly.
Oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
It does not go away.
It does
quickly.
No. And like you said, that lesson doesn't disappear just because you grow older. You change environments or you deepen your faith. That imprint, it lives in your body. And the body does not respond to logic alone.
All right. I got to share.
All right.
I don't know if you're ready for this.
Okay, I'm sitting down.
When I was a child, I was afraid of the dark. I would see figures in my closet. And we had to turn every light off in the house. There were no night lights. There was no leaving the bathroom light on and cracking the door, to have light. It was sheer darkness. Well, because of that, I grew up with a fear of sleeping in the dark. And I'm 62. I just started sleeping in the dark in the last 11 days with no light.
Wow.
From my childhood.
Wow.
Even my husband knew if I went to sleep before he did, when he came in the room, he wouldn't turn the bathroom light off. He would keep the door cracked so that when my eyes opened, I could see and there was light in there. He honored that. Okay? But talk about ears burning, y'all. Talk about the man, he tried to get in touch with you. But just in the last 11 days, I sleep in the dark.
That's a break. That's a breakthrough.
I'm good. I'm good.
Well, sleeping in the dark is not my issue. My issue is waking up in the middle of the night. And not only stems from childhood, but when I was in my domestic violence situation, dearly husband used to wake me up in the middle of the night and let me know his thoughts, his more inner thoughts.
Share his thoughts.
Yeah, his thoughts were of harming other people. The other people meaning me. And he would be very explicit with that. And I would have to lull him back to sleep. But then I would stay wide open. So, and after that, years later, then, came the little one, which they don't never let you sleep. So I sleep very light, very, very light. Anything wakes me up and it takes me forever to go back to sleep. I know God will work that out.
Oh, yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. I thought I would be the rest of my life.
Well, maybe at 62, I'll sleep through the night.
Yay! It only took 62 years. This is why so many well-meaning messages about rest falls flat. Just slow down. Just trust God. Just stay a Sabbath. For traumatization, nervous system, those statements can feel threatening. Like what you talking about?
Although I will tell you, the rain noises have helped a lot.
You know what? Yes. I've started going to sleep
on rain background
thunder
noises.
And rain.
Yes. And that has helped a lot.
It knocks me out. I wish I had learned that years ago.
And yes, it can feel threatening because rest requires letting your guard down. And if your guard once kept you alive, putting it down feels dangerous. That's logic.
Now, let's add another layer. For many of you, Spiritual language has been wrapped around productivity in ways that created pressure instead of creating peace.
Yeah, some of you grew hearing messages like, idle hands are the devil's workshop. That's what I said. If you really love God, you will do. Rest is for late. Rest is for when you're dead.
Yeah, I'll rest when I'm dead.
There's work to be done right now and right here. And you know what? It just dawned on me, and I think I told you this. I had this concept in my head since I was very, very young that I had to do so much with my life and had to get so much done because otherwise, when I got older, I was going to regret not having that. It was wasting my life.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sometimes that they teach you that.
Yeah, yeah. And it leaves an imprint because you believe it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And even if no one ever said those words to you out loud, they were implied.
Mm-hmm.
They lived in expectations, in praise for busyness, in guilt for slowing down.
This creates what therapists call moralized productivity. That is the belief that your worth is tied to your output, that doing more makes you better, and that resting makes you suspect. You might not be so good. Mm-hmm.
Can't trust
you.
Moralized productivity is especially powerful in spiritual communities because it disguises pressure as devotion, and devotion becomes hard to question.
Mm-hmm. But pressure is not the same thing as conviction, and exhaustion is not evidence of faithfulness. God didn't ask us to do all that.
Doing too much.
Yeah.
You're doing too much.
You're doing too much.
Jesus did not rush. He withdrew. He rested. He disappointed. He disappointed people's expectation big time. And he was not less obedient because of it.
Right. People thought that he was going to be a king that was going to kill everybody and stuff. And when he said, oh, this is about love. What?
The biggest example of Jesus not rushing is when Mary and Martha sent word that their brother Lazarus had died.
Yeah, he waited 4 days.
And they thought Jesus was going to be running behind them. I don't see him. He coming. I don't see him. And then 3-4 days later, he came. And they were so distraught, they told him, if you had been here, okay, when we came to get you, if you had stopped what you were doing and ran with us, he would not have died. He would still be alive. They had no idea who they were talking to.
The one that comes to mind is when he was with the disciples on the boat. And the waters.
Lord, we gonna die.
And he is asleep.
And you got the Lord on the boat with you, really?
And he is asleep.
Grab a pillow, go sleep next
Snoring, drooling, and everything. And like, what you doing?
And they went and woke him up.
Of course they did.
And they're like, we gonna die. You know. Walk up on top of the boat. And what did he say?
Peace be still.
Peace be still. The wind and the waves and the rain obeyed his will. They didn't know who they were traveling with.
No, they didn't. So if rest feels difficult for you, that doesn't mean you're rebellious. It means your nervous system has never experienced rest as safe.
And safety must come before surrender.
This is where so many people get stuck. Then try to use discipline to override fear. They try to force structure onto a system that is still protecting itself. And when that fails, they assume it's a failure of spiritual proportions, and it's not.
But what if the issue is not disobedience? What if it's unhealed fear?
God is not offended by your nervous system. He does not demand that you override survival in order to be loved.
Right. Scripture speaks often about rest. Rarely about rest as performance.
I've never think of rest as performance.
Rest is described as refuge, as shelter, as restoration, not as something that you earn by burning yourself out.
Preach.
Thank you.
For some of you, this may be the first time rest has been framed as permission rather than responsibility. And that may bring up some resistance.
Resistance is information. It tells you where fear lives.
So here's something important to hear. If rest triggers anxiety, guilt, or panic, that is not a moral failure. It's a nervous system's response.
And nervous system responses require patience, not punishment.
This is also why many people struggle with spiritual practices that are supposed to be grounding. Prayer feels pressure. Meditation feels restless. Silence feels loud. Let me be clear. It doesn't mean that you can get better at those. It means that if the reason why you're struggling with those areas is trauma and it's because they're unhealed hurts, you're going to get there, but you need that healing 1st. It's like sports. If you have a busted knee, until you heal that knee, you won't be able to run.
Yeah, you're going to be on the sideline.
Right. So you want to run and you're trying to run with a busted knee and you're feeling like, I can't run. I'm a failure. No, you need to heal that knee and then you'll be able to run.
And there are some things that happen where God has to slow you down.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Because we hear everybody else's voice, but we can't hear God. And sometimes He has to slow you down for you to hear Him.
Yeah, because He doesn't compete.
No. It's like, my turn, my turn. Wait a minute. No, He does not. He waits until you allow Him to speak what He needs to into you, over you, through you. Again, not because you're doing it wrong, but because stillness activates unprocessed fear.
Healing productivity requires us to address this honestly. You cannot build a healthy relationship with work without building a safer relationship with rest.
Yes, and safety is built slowly through consistency, through gentleness, through listening to the body instead of overriding it.
So before we move into practical tools, we want to pause right here because this is this is a lot.
If you notice emotions rising, sadness, anger, grief, that makes sense. You may be realizing how long you've been forcing yourself to function.
And if nothing feels clear yet, that's okay too. Understanding often comes before relief. Not productivity that harms you, but productivity that works with your body instead of against it.
Yes. Everything we've talked about so far has been about understanding, about naming what's actually happening in your body and your history. Now we want to talk about what healing productivity can look like in real life. Not perfect, not overnight, not as another system to fail for you to be a failure, but as a relationship you slowly rebuild with yourself.
Healing productivity doesn't start with doing more. It starts with feeling safer doing less. Oh my God, yes. And that can feel totally counterintuitive, especially if productivity once kept you alive.
Yes.
It's scary.
So we're going to walk through a few practices. These are not rules. They are invitations, and you are allowed to take what helps and leave what doesn't. My former pastor used to say, chew up the meat, spit out the bone. In other words, what helps you, keep that. If it's not for you, let it go.
So let's talk about the first tool, regulation before action. The first shift is simple but profound. Before asking, what should I do? Ask, am I regulated enough to do anything right now? That's a good one.
A dysregulated nervous system does not plan well. It rushes, it avoids, and it collapses.
You know, one thing that has helped me slow down? I've been journaling recently, and I've been journaling not so much about my feelings, but about what I did. You know, one of my issues with extra productivity is I usually call you and tell you the whole thing of what I did during the day because I need to hear myself. Have you noticed I call you less because I'm journaling it now?
Oh, I thought it was because I yelled at you at 11:30 at night.
I've never cared about you yelling at me.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. You can yell at me all you want. I don't care.
Yay, thank
Yes,
you.
you're welcome. Yeah, I don't care about you yelling. Not at all. But the thing is, you know, when I did it verbally, it's because I needed to hear it myself. Now, because I'm writing it, I can read it. Sometimes I can read it more. Obviously, I can read it more than once, and I do it at a time in the day. I'm starting to listen to my body, and I realize when my brain hits a wall, and that's when I stop and go to the journal and go, okay, what have I done to this point? And I'm doing my hands movement because I don't write by hand. I write it on my computer. It's an electronic journal. So I go to, and then I start reading. No, what did you hit a wall? And I usually write at the end, okay, time for crochet and TV. End of the day.
But she calls me.
Used to.
Called me a week or two ago.
You just had your breakthrough 11 days ago. Mine was almost about the same time.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Look, she called me one night. I know it was every bit of 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
She called me and she started itemizing all these things that she had done. And she says, I'm tired. I think I should rest. You know what I said? You ain't done nothing.
Yes, she does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You ain't done You don't do nothing. And then I asked her one night, I said, baby, did I ask you what you did today? She said, no, I just need to hear myself say it. What was my response? Do you remember?
Talk to the mirror.
Why didn't you go to the mirror?
But you know what? I just realized another reason why I called you and tell you. It's because we are so intertwined in the podcast, in the homeschooling, that I also feel like I have to keep you informed of what's happening. So that's one of my reasons too.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, she don't care anyway. So, and that's why I'm calling less and doing it on my own. But yeah, now I'm catching myself when I hit, because usually when I hit the mental block, I would look at the time. I said, oh no, I still have 2-3 more hours of productivity, so I need to push through. No, what I'm doing now, that's my practice. I'm not saying this is not clear. This is what I started doing and it has worked for me. I went into my little journal and go type what I've done today. I woke up, make breakfast, went grocery shop, whatever I did. It's for me, so it's not pretty, maybe a paragraph. And then I look and go, no wonder you're here. Well, you've done a lot today. Okay. And I'm telling you, at the end, I say, okay, time for food, TV, and crochet. Time to put Mace in the bed and watch some TV. You know, I've been it's like me giving myself permission to start resting. And this is totally new. Yes, it is. Absolutely new. So instead of forcing productivity, like I said, pause and check in. Do I feel tense? Do I feel settled? Am I breathing shallow or deep? Does my body feel braced or supported?
And sometimes you have to say, look,
I'm done.
I got too much going on. I can't think straight. I can't operate productively. I just need to step back. Okay? I just need to step back. So give yourself grace.
Yes.
Little plug in there. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to regulate first. A breath, a stretch, a moment of grounding. Productivity that comes from calm lasts longer than productivity driven by fear.
So, tool number 2, micro completion.
Trauma overwhelms the brain with scale. Big tasks feel dangerous. Undefined tasks feels endless. So we shrink them.
Instead of finish the project, try open the document. Instead of cleaning the house, try washing one dish. Instead of getting my life together, can you start by drinking a glass of water?
Exactly. Completion, even tiny completion, builds trust with your nervous system. It teaches your body that action does not always lead to harm.
And trusting the foundation of sustainable productivity, which means if it's a routine or something you can't keep up, don't go there. Tool number three, body based yes and no. One of the most important productivity tools is learning how to say no. That's one of the biggest tools in life. But for trauma survivor, not is just not a word. It's a sensation because when you're trying to say no, but you're not know how to do it, your whole body's going through things.
Well, I've learned to make
Oh
no
yeah,
a complete sentence,
absolutely.
either with a period or an exclamation point. I don't even put a question mark there because that gives them too much leeway that they can come back in and try to convince me. Your body often knows before your mind does. Expansion usually means yes. Contraction usually means no. Tight chest, shallow breath, heavy shoulders. These are not character flaws. They are information. They're letting you know something ain't right.
Healing productivity listens to that information instead of overriding. It's just me, just being me. So let me go forward now. Because every ignored no eventually shows up as burnout.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. So tool number four, compassionate self-talk.
Pay attention to the voice that shows up when you struggle to be productive. Is it harsh? Is it critical? Is it demanding?
That voice does not come from nowhere. It often echoes how pressure was applied to you in the past. But it does not need to run your future.
Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Try asking, what feels unsafe right now? Curiosity opens doors that shame keeps locked.
So, productivity as a healing practice. When productivity becomes healing, it stops being about proving your worth. It becomes about building trust. Trust that you can start, trust that you can stop, trust that rest will not destroy you.
Yes. Healing productivity respects seasons. There are seasons of output. There are seasons of recovery. There are seasons of maintenance. Try to optimize every season leads to collapse.
Absolutely.
You can't keep up with all that.
So let's integrate this for spiritual listeners.
For those of you listening with faith backgrounds, we want to say this clearly. God does not need you to override your nervous system to serve Him.
Scripture speaks of rest as refuge, not reward.
Right.
Of obedience as peace, not pressure. If your spiritual life feels frantic, something is not well aligned.
Healing does not make you less devoted. It makes you more whole.
So we want to invite you to a quick moment of reflection. You don't need to answer quickly, just notice, think about it. Ask yourself, which survival response shows up most in my productivity? When do I feel safest being busy? What does my body need before it can focus?
Good questions. There is no correct answer. Awareness itself is progress.
If you take nothing else from this episode, take this. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You have adapted to the wrong system has messed up your nervous system.
And adaptation is intelligence, not failure. Healing does not erase what you survived. It gives you more choices moving forward.
You are allowed to build a life that does not cost you your nervous system. You're allowed to work without fear. You're allowed to rest without guilt.
And you are allowed to take your time.
If this conversation has stirred something tender please reach out for support. Also, follow us on social media. We are at The Rising Muse on all platforms and help us get to 1,000 followers on YouTube.
Remember, if you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please dial 9. If a loved one is experiencing a mental health crisis, dial 911 or take them to the nearest emergency room. If you think you're in a domestic violence relationship and need to talk or some assistance, you can dial 800-799-7233 or text 887-888. Please make sure you're in a safe place when you're reaching out for help.
And if you are in a metal emergency, try to find a welder. Faith, healing, and growth.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
We're never meant to be done. We're not meant to be done alone. And we're here for you. Until next time, don't forget to thrive. Have a blessed day.
Bye-bye.